Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 946. I had the white pieces and started off with d4, and my opponent went e5 here. You can see e5, the Englund gambit it's called, after a person named Englund, not after the country. Well, it's spelled with a U and not an A, so I guess you could have figured that out. So e5, you see there's no games in the database with e5. That's because this database was compiled from professional or strong players, and they just don't play this way. But you see this in Blitz, so you should probably know how to deal with it. The right answer here is taking e4. Yeah, it's a strange move in this position. It's probably transposing into some other line, which is why there's a few games. But the best move is just to take that pawn. Why not? It's a free pawn, and it's a center pawn. So he attacks it, and you defend it. And now he plays the tricky move Queen e7, and this is the line we will look at. That's the way it's been played in my experience, although I suppose there are some other ideas there. But it's hard to evaluate them when there are no games to look at. Anyway, I just played knight c3. I knew there was this tricky line with bishop f4. I've never played queen d5 myself, but I have played bishop f4 before and gotten into trouble. So I will show you that line, and then we'll come back to knight c3, which is a good move. Knight c3 is a simple move and keeps a winning edge for white, actually. So anyway, let's see. Let's look at this bishop f4 move. That's what I wanted to show you. So it's a pretty natural move. You've just defended that pawn, which came under attack by the queen move. But this is where it gets tricky. He has this move, queen b4 check. And that hits your loose bishop here, hits the pawn on b2, as well as delivering a check. So you drop the bishop back, hitting the queen. And, well, before I show that, surprisingly, knight c3 is also a playable move here. Knight c3, queen takes bishop, knight d5 hits the queen. After the queen moves, the queen can't go anywhere that defends the pawn on c7, so you're going to get the pawn on c7 with check, and then you're going to get the rook in the corner. So you can win the exchange that way, although your knight is out of play for a while. Anyway, just a funny tactical line, actually good for white. But bishop d2 is good for white as well if you play this correctly. So queen takes here, and now the queen is threatening the rook in the corner. And if you play this natural move bishop to d3, that is what black is hoping for, and this is a trap I've fallen into before. After bishop d4, I mean, I should explain, bishop c3 is a very natural move because the knight protects the bishop hits the queen, and also defends the rook in the corner. So it seems to solve all of white's problems with tempo, because now the queen has to move, right? But no, the queen doesn't have to move. There's this move, bishop to b4, pinning this bishop, so you're no longer threatening the queen. And now, if you do a nothing move here, or just try and continue developing, that rook is just hanging. So you're just down a rook. This is just losing. There's actually no way to avoid loss of material. The best move is to take. Knight takes. And now there's another threat, which is the knight coming in here with the check, the big fork, as well as the taking the rook. So knight to a3 is the only move that defends c2 and defends the rook, but the queen can just take that, and you've lost a piece, and black should win from here. So so it's easy to go astray there, and it's that bishop c3 move that was at fault in this position. You need to play knight to c3, and then you're winning. Black can continue. Bishop here, you play rook b1, the queen drops back. You can play rook b3 or knight d5. The queen moves again. And then a3, kicking the bishop. This kind of resolves everything. Bishop takes. Now the queen has to move. You've got better development, and what's the material here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the material's even. You just have a positional edge with your better development here, and better center control. So, and the bishop there is hitting the queen and defending the e-pawn. Anyway, that's the way to play it if you want to go for that exciting line. In the game, after queen e7, I just went knight c3, and that seems good enough. In fact, like I said, it keeps a pretty strong edge for white, maybe winning. The other move here, well, queen d5, I said I've never tried and I don't know about it, but this one is an interesting one too. Bishop g5 hitting the queen. Queen comes over here with check anyway. You play knight c3, queen takes b2, and then you drop the bishop back to defend the knight. And this just transposed into the other line. He can try bishop b4, but you have rook b1, etc., as we saw in the previous line. So that's another way to play this. But knight c3 is just simple and good. You just give the pawn back. Now he didn't accept he didn't accept taking the pawn back, but he really should. Just knight takes, and then e4, and you play on this position where you just have you have a center pawn, so you have more center influence. He's not getting that move in except as a gambit, and if he trades this off, this just helps your development. You have this bishop f4 developing move with a tempo on the knight. So you're just better here. And that's probably the best that black can do in this position. Instead, he tried to keep it a gambit by playing d6. And now we are really out of the opening book. And you can just take that pawn. There's no issue with this gambit. There's no tricks here. Let's see. He took back. The chess 100 was actually suggesting taking with the queen as the best that black can do here, but then you just trade queens and create a slightly messed up pawn structure for black. Anyway, he took with the pawn. I played e4, and I think the next part, I just have a winning advantage already, and I just keep it by normal means, just normal developing moves. Let's see, he tries knight e5. I just bring my pieces out. I get castled. And, it doesn't matter if he grabbed the bishop. He doesn't have the bishop pair because he's already given up his bishop. So he only has one bishop, and it's not developed. And here I'm going to get castled. And he's still a few moves away from developing. He goes knight of 6. I go b3. I decided to put my bishop on this diagonal. And my queen is defending the knight. So this is okay. He develops this way. I guess he's going to castle king side as well. I went bishop b2. He castled. Go rook to e1, just another natural developing move. Also discouraging him from pushing his backwards d pawn forward. I'm going to have play against that pawn for the rest of the game, or until I take it off the board. Let's see, he went rook a c8 here, hitting my knight, and I decided to do something at this point. I played knight a4, which I just move the knight out of the way while it defends the bishop, so I gain a tempo on the queen. And that keeps a winning edge, but it's not the strongest move here. There's a nice idea here that I didn't see during the game. If you want to find the best move for white here, you could pause the video and think about this for a while. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. The best move is knight to d5. And, well, that's a tempo on the queen. Of course, this bishop is loose, so the queen takes the bishop. But then you take here with check. And not only do you get the piece back, but you also win the exchange here. So that's a pretty simple win from there. Anyway, I went knight a4. This is also still winning. And we'll go through another bunch of moves here. I just play pretty natural moves. Kick the queen around. Also keep a clamp on this backwards pawn. Let's just go forward a little more. Eventually I'll park my knight on that good square, and then I'll take back to give myself this 4-on-3 pawn majority on the queen side. That will be winning for me in the end. Let's see, he tried a few more things. I started looking at tactics against the king side. The one thing you have to look for, is it's still going to be a long game. Just because it's winning doesn't mean it'll be over instantly. So you just have to avoid, putting things together, putting things in a line on this diagonal, so or a rook here, because he can get that bishop out there and skewer you. So just take a little bit of caution and do some normal developing moves, trying to work up a kingside attack, and it should be fine. So he played bishop g5 here. I went queen g4. He just traded off the bishop, and I use that as an opportunity to activate my rook. So now my heavy pieces are trained on his king side, And I just plunged in. I verified this with the chess engine. It's right to just ignore, this a pawn over here if he wants to take that with his queen. His queen is just going to be out of play over there. Plus, I have threats against his pawn, so I'm not even giving back any material. I'm just organizing my pieces for a good attack. Let's see. So he did. He didn't. He played rook cd8 to kick my queen around, and then he took the pawn. But now I can bring the other rook in. I was trying to make an immediate sacrifice work, but it doesn't really work here. I guess in this situation I was trying to, back up. In this situation I was trying to make it work. Sometimes there's this idea where you take here, he takes back, and then you can take this. But in this case it wasn't with check. So he could have just taken my queen there. So it didn't work in that case. So I grabbed a pawn, and my queen had to move, and then I also moved to the side so that I could bring the rook in. So now I've got 3 pieces, and he's just falling apart here. There's no way back from this point. He can throw in a check, which he does, but he can't get back in time to defend this pawn. So I'm breaking through on the king side, and just trade off the rooks, grab another pawn, and then go into this queen and pawn endgame, which maybe, if I could have ended it sooner, and I would have. It's these queen and pawn endings can be tricky because you do have to worry about all the checks against your king. We'll see that in a bit. And, he's going to push pawns forward. I'm going to push pawns forward because that's what I need to do in order to win the game. And he's going to push his pawns forward to try and create some weaknesses so he can go for some perpetual check. And then right here, there was a faster win here, although, it takes a computer sometimes to see these things. I played d6, but c6 is recommended by the chess engine. And after he takes his pawn, come over here to c3 with check, getting the pawn, getting the queen behind the pawn. King goes to h7, pushing the pawn forward. I could have seen this much, but the thing that's dangerous about this is now my king is exposed to attacks, and there's a whole bunch of checks, and the king walks all around. Of course, the computer has no time calculating all this out, and it realizes that after that series of 5 checks, the king gets to this square where there's no more checks, and there's no stopping the pawn from queening. So that would be the cleanest win at that point. Anyway, I pushed on with d6. This is all still winning. Gave up the c pawn in order to, let's see, I did a little back and forth there, I guess. I'm trying to arrange things so I can help the queen. I can get the queen in a position where it helps this pawn promote, and at the same time not allow my king to get checked. So there's a little bit of back and forth there. And then here he went king h6, and after this it's all over because I have a check that gets the queens off, and then it's a winning king and pawn endgame. If he had gone the other way, king to g8 was the best move there. The way to play this, just for your information, is to play a move like f3. And what this does is it gives the king a little bit of shelter here from the checks, and now once again there's no stopping this pawn from coming through. The queen is really already in an ideal position here, and it's going to be mate. When the pawn hits the 8th rank there, I just have to get my king somewhere where his queen is not checking it. No easy checks from the queen. And there may still be a tricky moment here when I push that pawn forward and he has this check, but anyway, it seems like that's the way to play it. But he went king h6, which is easier. So now you just throw in this check, you give up another pawn, but this is a winning king and pawn endgame. Doesn't matter what he does. I was thinking maybe he gets back in time to stop this pawn, but I just push and I'm faster. So he took, and he played it all the way out till mate, which I do sometimes when I'm feeling frustrated. But this was not too hard. So nothing especially instructive there. Anyway, and that's how the game ended. Hope you guys enjoyed this and learned a thing or two about the wacky England gambit, and you won't fall for that bishop c3 trick next time. See you guys later. Bye.